Hi, this is your host, Dale Josie, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 9 of my podcast series, Aging with Grace 55 Plus. Sadly, the prolific singer Tony Bennett recently succumbed to Alzheimer's after being diagnosed with the disease in 2016. Kim Baker, President and CEO of Kentucky Performing Arts, discusses the connection between music and loss of memory as the dreaded disease progresses. Then Willie Jones from DPL Financial Partners returns, this time to share strategies for alternatives to pensions. More information about pension alternatives can be found at dplfp.com. This segment concludes with the origins of deodorant, critical as we enter the dog days of summer. This podcast series is made possible by Kentucky AARP, and DPL Financial Partners. That said, let's get after it. Meaning, welcome to Season 3, Episode 9 of Aging with Grace 55 Plus. Recently, many of us became aware that Tony Bennett passed away at age 96. According to the New York Times, he devoted himself to preserving the classic American popular song, as written by Cole Porter, the Gershwins, Duke Ellington, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and others. And before we talk about Tony Bennett, because there's a very interesting piece here, right? Is that he was diagnosed in 2016 with having Alzheimer's. And yet, despite the debilitation of the disease, he was still able to be able to sing his songs and still be able to perform concerts spanning a generation from Times Square when he first started all the way over to Lady Gaga and recording a recent album. Before we get there and delve into this whole idea of Alzheimer's and music, I thought it'd be interesting to have a different perspective on it. And so I'm very pleased to introduce my next guest. Her name is Kim Baker. She became president and CEO of Kentucky Performing Arts in 2014. The organization she leads plays an important role in the economic and educational well-being of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Ms. Baker has been awarded several honors, including the 2019 Arts Innovation Award at Louisville's annual awards in the arts celebration. And she is also connected to national leaders in performing arts as she represents Kentucky Performing Arts as a member of the Broadway League, the Performing Arts Consortium, the International Association of Venue Managers, as well as the Association of Performing Arts Presenters. With that said, Kim Baker, welcome to Aging with Grace. How are you, my friend?
Oh, Dale, I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And recently, again, there's been a spate of news about Tony Bennett's passing away. And that his last public performance was in August of 2021 after being diagnosed again with Alzheimer's in 2016. And it's very interesting. And you and I had a conversation off mic about the idea, despite the ravages of Alzheimer's on the brain, he was still able to remember the lyrics in his songs, which is an interesting phenomenon. I was wondering if you could kind of comment on that and share your thoughts in the next few minutes.
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, I feel so fortunate that, we were able to bring Tony Bennett to our community several times during his life. And one time I was so fortunate to meet him, and he was just as lovely and wonderful off stage as he was on stage. But there is something that is very special, and a connection that happens with music and memory.
Okay.
And I think that, well, I first actually really became interested in this topic when I learned that I'm a flute player and classically trained. And I learned that just an unbelievable performer named Eugenia Zuckerman was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she was a classical flute player. And
Eugenia, what was Eugenia's last name again?
Zuckerman.
Got it.
And yeah, she also, I believe she was the music correspondent for CBS Sunday Morning, or she may have been broader to all of the arts. But and she still struggles with the disease. But one thing that she said was that although other memories would leave her, her music had not left her. She could pick
Hmm.
up and she could perform and play and have no problem remembering music. And I know that happened to her through at least the first stage of Alzheimer's. And it's very interesting though. She has been documenting her journey through a book of poetry
Hmm.
called like Falling Through a Cloud. But there is something, music can evoke those memories. When we study with our patrons, when we say, well, what was the last time that you were at the center, or when did you last see even a Broadway show like Cats or Phantom of the Opera? It never fails that they'll think it was just a few years ago, but it could be
Oh,
more than a decade ago
oh.
because it's so vibrant in their memory, and it just evokes really very specific memories.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting you should say that because science has documented the fact that of all of our senses, the five senses, taste, touch, smell, hearing, that but the point is that music goes through all your defenses. Everything else, it can be sifted through, if you will, a filter, if you will. Whereas music goes directly to the soul, absent any filters. Is that maybe part of how the music is able to still be remembered as one has Alzheimer's because it penetrates so deeply once it's heard, absent filters?
I think so. I think there is something to do with the part of your brain that where memories are formed. But
Hmm.
I also do think, I mean, I've experienced this myself, that music, it can calm you. It can actually help with pain
Hmm.
and anxiety, and that is all very, very documented. And I think that because of all of those things together, really, you kind of come to a state where you are open to being calm, to being in the moment, to
Hmm.
remembering. I do think it has something to do with that. Yes, Dale.
Hmm. And that's why you have to be very careful. We always train our children, talk about, be careful what you listen to, right? Because it does form those kind of connections that are long term, which also helped with regard to Tony Bennett. I mean, you're talking about a career that spans 70 years, and then most recently he recorded two albums with Lady Gaga. And by the way, she said, I will miss my friend forever. I'll miss singing with him, recording with him, talking with him, and being on stage together. They had a serious bond, Kim, for 10 years and recorded two albums together, 2014, Cheek to Cheek, and 2021, Love for Sale, both of which won Grammy Awards. What an honor for Tony at the apex of his career to have that ability to transcend music and also perform with Lady Gaga and win some Grammys for his work in his latter years with
Yeah,
Alzheimer's.
most definitely. Most definitely. I think in all of our lives, whether you're a
Mm-hmm.
superstar or it's just you and I,
Mm-hmm.
kind of keeping music in front of us, keeping music we love, keeping it in front of us, keeping active in that way. As we age, I think will all do us a world of good. It'll help with, dementia, whatever kind of concerns, pain, anxiety, as we've said before.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. That the science has actually documented how music can calm us or even transport us through different emotional phases. Thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it is there's music therapy certainly, but um, there's also arts and healing where music is used in many different ways. You'll see new fields of study that really find the benefits of having music in hospital waiting rooms and but actually even bedside.
Hmm.
Something interesting I was just thinking about when my grandmother had um, terrible, um, not Alzheimer's, but she was experiencing pretty serious dementia,
Hmm.
and I would bring in, this is so funny. I would bring in spirituals, and
Hmm.
when I did this was years ago. I thought it was because of just the fact that it was a spiritual, but now I
Right.
really realized she was hearing music she remembered, and that calmed her. And when she would hear that, she would be so calm and so just relaxed. And our visits that would follow would always be really wonderful.
Mhm. What a great memory to share. And for those of us who just joined us, my guest is Kim Baker. She became president and CEO of Kentucky Performing Arts in 2014. And the organization she leads plays an important role in the economic and educational well being of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. What a great memory, Kim, for being able to share that not only with your family, but I imagine you have quite a large patron base. We're going to talk a little bit about the Kentucky Performing Arts and its venue of stages. But before we do that, you have quite a large patronage of supporters, of people who follow you, and I imagine that audience skews towards my demographic, which is age 55 plus, and they support you very well. Correct?
That's right. Yes, we do. We have, certainly, like you said, a wide variety of people, from really young people that come to see children's theater to those that are retired and beyond, and they really have found their home at Kentucky Performing Arts. So we even have such a wonderful core of volunteers, 400 plus volunteers,
Mhm.
that many of them are in retirement, but that enjoy being a part of the organization.
Well, it's interesting you talk about volunteers because that's been like a common theme for my last episode. We were talking about the importance of volunteering. In that episode, we talked about the Kids Cancer Alliance. But also, I'm glad you mentioned your volunteer corps. I remember when my wife and I went to see Phantom of the Opera and other shows that have been at the Performing Arts Center. It's amazing how many people you have just waiting to show you to your seat to give you a program. And Kim, they all seem so happy to be there and available to help. That was great.
We're so happy that they're there, and they know the space. They are our best ambassadors. They are trained on all of the protocols that we need them to be trained on. Some of them have been volunteers since the day the center opened in 1983, and we're going into our 40th anniversary. So
Wow.
of course, a benefit is that, if you volunteer and there are spare seats, you can see the shows. But sometimes you can't because there are no spare seats, but they'll stand on the sidelines, and they're there to be there to support the mission regardless.
Let's talk about the mission regardless and also your schedule. Because every year, 400,000 plus people from throughout Kentucky, the nation, and the world experience the arts both on and off stages for Kentucky Performing Arts Center, located here in Louisville, Kentucky. As part of that, an important part of that is the PNC Broadway series, and you've had some great shows there. You mentioned Cats, I mentioned
Yes.
Phantom of the Opera, but what else? I mean, you have an incredible performing schedule.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have such an incredible schedule that's coming up. And that's the PNC Bank Broadway in Louisville. And I don't know, our friend Leslie Broker is our local point person here. But the Broadway that's coming is a lot of I think almost everything is new to the season, which
Okay.
hasn't been here before. So that's spectacular. But
Yeah.
we have everything from Six, which is coming, which is about the six wives of Henry VIII. And if you liked Hamilton, a lot of people find a lot of similarities because it's really kind of contemporary in the
Hmm.
way that that's presented, and it's really girl power. It's really empowering.
Yeah.
Um, I saw it on Broadway, so we've got that. We've got Clue, which is coming. Tina, the musical, about, of course, Tina Turner, which is going to be great. We have 3 weeks of Wicked, which is coming back into the
Love
market.
Wicked. Yeah.
Amazing, really amazing. So just it's and more. There's a great Broadway season coming.
Yeah, and no matter where you are, you always have shows that appeal. Like I said, you admitted you alluded to it as well. Hamilton. It's like 4 times we've seen Hamilton across the nation, including here in Louisville. I can't get enough of Hamilton. So when's it coming back?
Exactly. I can't share that with you, but just know
Okay.
that it is. Know that it is. And
Yay.
oh, and I didn't mention we've got Frozen coming too. So
Oh,
a great
Frozen.
great
Yeah.
thing to bring the children and grandchildren to.
Oh, that's great. I'll definitely put that on my calendar. And the last 2 minutes that we have, The Kentucky Performing Arts is actually a family of venues. It's the Kentucky Center, Brown Theater, Old Foresters, Town Hall, which serve as a hub for local, national, and international artists for community engagement and also for arts education. Talk to us on the first part about the importance of arts education and your mission. And then second part, talk about the different venues that you guys own and operate.
Mm. Well, our mission is to connect and inspire through the arts, and we do that both on the stages and in the community. And I think really talking about education, I just wrapped up the second week of the Governor's School for the Arts that happened in Lexington at the University of Kentucky, and that's we through the last two sessions
Hmm.
we had over 500 young creatives absolutely free in 9 different arts disciplines um,
Wow.
go through a conservatory-like program, and that's a partnership with Kentucky Performing Arts and the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Hmm.
And there's nothing like it in the country. And these kids I tell you, it gives me a lot of hope when I see the talent and just the heart of these young people that are going through this program.
Hmm.
So, we've Stage One Children's Theater. We're a home to that, and they bring in young people and families with professional theater from really all over the region, which is extraordinary.
Hmm.
So to open up a child's mind to possibilities through the arts. And you mentioned education specifically is really critical. You've
Hmm.
got to give a young person that type of vision and experience, and the arts is just an obvious way to do that.
Hmm. And then you have a family of venues of different
Yeah.
stages, and most recently being Forrester's Paris Town Hall, correct?
Oh yeah, Old Foresters Parish Town Hall. Three venues that we operate. One is Kentucky Performing Arts, Kentucky Center on Main Street, and that's the one that's kind of our flagship. There are three theaters there: the Brown Theater on Broadway, and then Old Foresters Paris Town Hall. But outside of Old Foresters Paris Town Hall is Christie's Garden, and actually, there's going to be a great program there on Friday with Footloose. Red Line Performing Arts is going to be
Oh,
doing Footloose in the garden. So there are all kinds of contemporary shows that happen both inside and outside. And really, we built that space because we didn't want shows to pass us by to go to
yeah.
Cincinnati and go to Nashville. We wanted them here in Louisville, and that's what we're seeing.
Well done, Kim. And as we conclude, how do folks get more information about performing arts,
Oh,
your
well,
organization?
yeah, the best way really is to go to our website, and it's www.kentuckyperformingarts.org. And there you can sign up for more information. You can see the whole list of programs that we have coming to all the venues, and also learn about more about our mission and opportunities on how you can engage.
For our listeners and also our viewers, you've heard from Kim Baker. She's the president and CEO of Kentucky Performing Arts, which she has led since 2014. She has been awarded numerous honors, including 2019 Arts Innovation Award, and she's also connected to national leaders in the performing arts, where she represents Kentucky Performing Arts as a member of the Broadway League, Performing Arts Consortium, and many more. Kim, I truly appreciate your time, my friend, in discussing the passing of Tony Bennett, whom the New York Times said was a jazzy crooner of the American songbook, and helping us to make that connection between music and Alzheimer's. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Bye bye. I'm pleased to say and announce that Willie Jones has returned to this episode of Aging with Grace 55 Plus. You'll recall that he has had a past working in insurance and banking, and then wanting to help consumers and businesses achieve their financial goals, he left the banking industry to join DPL Financial Partners. DPL Financial Partners is one of the sponsors of this podcast series. And in his current position, Willie Jones directs his passion to help firms grow and prosper while also giving their clients more and better options for financial planning. Good morning, Willie, and welcome back to Aging with Grace 55 Plus. How are you?
Good morning, Dale. I am doing fine, and I'm so glad you had me back.
Well, it was interesting last time. It was engaging, and I really appreciate your passion for something. And I hope our listeners and also appreciate and understand your passion for something that can be kind of difficult, right, and off-putting.
Yes.
Which you're talking about investments. That sounds like like you're going to endorse Darth Vader or something. And why do But you make it sound so easy, and I love that. Willie, have you always felt that that passion and ease in discussing financial planning and futures?
I mean, honestly, I just always wanted to help people. I believe the retiree generation is one of the best generations around, and I've seen people take advantage of that generation before
Mhm,
too, just being in banking. So my goal was to really help people say you can live a comfortable retirement,
mhm,
know that things are going to be okay, and joining this young company DPL has really allowed me to do that and kind of branch out and be able to focus on that end user, which is the clients, those
mhm.
people every day. And I think that was truly David's goal, was to
Yeah.
help the end user.
Yeah, yeah. You talked about David Lau, who's your founder and
Mhm.
CEO, and it's quite
Yes.
amazing. What a vision for DPL Financial. But here's the question though, Willie. When we look at you talked about retirement and you were talking about
Yes.
retirees, but how can annuities help retirees generate income? And does this require something called? And can you walk us through annuitization? How does all that work?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, one of the biggest things about annuities, it's one of the few things in life as part of your financial plan that you can use the word guaranteed. They will guarantee some type of income stream for the rest of your life. The way you get to that income stream can be different. And what I tell people that say, hey, I've heard only bad things about annuities, I told them, well, I hate to tell you, Social Security is an annuity. That's
Right.
all it really is. You know, they've given you money over
Seriously.
the years.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you back that money at some time in the future. But if you don't get it all back, it poofs goes into the magic air and the government keeps it.
Mm,
It used to be the same way with most annuities through annuitization. Right now, I'd say less than 5% of annuities are actually annuitized, which means, hey, I'm going to give you this $100,000. I don't have that asset. You're going to give me an income stream.
mhm,
Nowadays, it's done through what we call riders on the annuities, which means I'm going to give you $100,000. I'm not going to take income for 3 or 5 years. That 100,000 now has the opportunity to grow and be invested while
mhm,
it's still principal protected. But if something happens to me prematurely, I have beneficiaries that can get those assets now. The insurance company doesn't get to keep those funds. Plus, I have more flexibility. Let's say I turn that income on and then 10 years in, I don't think I need it. If there's a value left there, that's your money. So
mhm.
it really helps clients out that want to have more choice and more flexibility with their retirement planning and getting guaranteed income.
Willie, one of our during our off mic comments, we were talking about, and I want to kind of revisit this, is
Oh,
that
sure.
annuities work better over time for young
Oh,
investors. It grows and it really protects their future. But what if you're already age 60 plus, and let's say if you have $100,000 to
mhm,
invest, what kind of is there? The runway is shorter for a return on that, right? Yes,
mhm.
no. So how does that
Well,
work for an older person?
yeah, you know what? I would say one of the things I do is I'll ask, what are you trying to accomplish with that 100K? Because if we think about it, as people get older, they naturally get more conservative. You
Mhm,
know, I don't want to be in the market and be up 10% and then down 20%. No one wants to ride that roller coaster. So we offer safer investment returns where maybe, hey, what if I can get you a guaranteed 5.5% return for the next 5 years? And you can take that interest and spend it where you want to, but still have your principal. I've talked to clients before, like I said, I deal with individual investors, and their eyes light up because they didn't know that was possible to get such a great return and still keep my principal. So it
mhm.
does work for the older investor, just depends on what they're trying to accomplish. And if it's income, nowadays everyone's living longer. That still could be, if I'm 60, that could
Right.
still be 30 years of income down the
Yikes.
line. That's
Mhm.
guaranteed for you. We don't think about that anymore, but people live a lot longer
That's
than they
right.
used to. And think about it, that's everyone's biggest fear is living long and not having resources anymore or
That's
funds to take
exactly
care of
right. It's interesting you said that because when you look at the annuities for insurance companies, I mean the expected life of individuals, we are living longer, and thanks to medical science and improvements, we're
Mhm.
continuing to age. So potentially
Correct.
someone could live into their early 90s And now they're fearful that they're not going to have any money, even though they've paid into Social Security, which I'm glad you said is a federal annuity.
I mean, honestly, that's basically what it is. Think about it. If a married couple's together and they both worked their 30 or 40 years, as we said before, they should have a lot of money scrolled away. You scrolled away again, sorry, inside of their Social Security.
Yeah.
But if one of them passes away,
Mhm.
they only get one check for the rest of their life,
Hmm.
either of the couple. But yet we put all this money into there. Where does all that other money go? It's spread around other people who are entering retirement that maybe didn't get as much. So
Mhm.
I always say, get your money from Social Security as fast as you can, especially if you have other assets, because those are the ones you can stretch and then leave to your heirs if you don't need to touch it.
Mhm. Well, besides, and we talk about heirs, you touch on it. That kind of
Mhm.
takes us to our next question about the emotional impacts annuities can have on retirement planning.
All right.
Because beyond the income, you're right. The emotional piece comes in. I've got to protect my heirs in the future. I've got to have enough money for my life.
Mhm.
So, how can annuities help deliver peace of mind?
Yeah, like I said, I worked in the insurance industry for several years. I did a lot of long-term care planning, and the one thing I would hear clients always say is, "I don't want to be a burden on my kids."
Yeah, yeah.
That's just the way they grew up. They want to make sure they're self-sufficient and independent. Well, guaranteed income can solve that, especially in today's marketplace where inflation, think about it, has reared its ugly head. We haven't seen that in a long time,
No.
but over the last year, it's been pretty aggressive. What if there was an income that also rose to keep up with inflation for your client or for that
Mhm.
individual investor? That's a peace of mind knowing, hey, no matter what happens, things get more expensive, more income comes in. I don't have to rely on my kids to take care of it. I can put a proper plan in place. The joy that comes from that for clients, knowing that they're going to be okay no matter what happens, allows those other investments to be invested aggressively so they can leave even more for their heirs.
Does not the banking industry kind of say the same thing, that we want to kind of protect you? Here's a traditional plan. But what I like about well, you tell me the difference between a bank's
Yeah.
plan for retirement versus DPL Financial's plan for retirement. What draw the distinction given your background in banking?
Yeah, I would say that we are, like, so once again, fundamentally changing the insurance industry. I work with tons of advisors at the banking that wanted to do the right thing. They didn't have access to all these same solutions. And that was part of the problem. As an advisor, they have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's right by their client. So
Mhm.
it used to be, if I think an insurance product is right, am I doing it because I actually think it's right, or am I getting paid a big commission? I always say there's tons of different people everywhere, good or bad.
Yeah.
You need to be in control of that, and hopefully you're dealing with the right people. But I've also met people who hated annuities. They
Mhm.
say, I don't like annuities, they're too expensive, they don't work. That's what DPL is doing, taking out those expenses, making
Mhm.
them a lot simpler for clients to understand, yet still giving them the guarantees that you can't say anywhere else.
That's good. That's good. And so and then we touched last time on the comfort level that gives. So how
Mhm.
can income improve retirement experiences? How's that guaranteed income improve the retirees' life experiences at that point?
I mean, I'll go back to a story I've shared with clients. I maybe even mentioned it to you on our earlier podcast. Is 2020 was a crazy year.
Yes.
People that were going to retire in that first quarter, everything was looking good. We were been on a bull run, and all of a sudden, this magic thing comes up called COVID. If you looked at it, it decimated the markets over the next probably 6 months.
Mhm.
People were fearful. It's called sequence of returns risk. To get technical about it, I was getting ready to retire.
Sequence to return risk. Is that what you said?
Sequence of returns
Or,
risk.
got it. Go ahead.
So yeah, I had $1 million in March. I'm getting ready to retire in July. Now that million's worth 600,000. That was real for a lot of people at that point in time.
Mm,
That fundamentally changes your emotions and your logic about, how do I want to retire? What do? Pull all my money out the market because I'm
that's right.
scared.
Right.
And then you
Right.
miss the run up that happened just a few months later. So people that had a pension per se, like you said, guaranteed income coming in, whether it was from a job or they created themselves through annuities, they didn't do all that emotional roller coaster riding. because my $5,000 a month was coming in anyway to take care of my expenses. I'm set. I'm not taking it from my portfolio. I've already set this in place for me to get this guaranteed income.
Mhm.
There's a level of happiness that falls over someone. It's even, you can find documentation out there that people with annuities tend to live longer lives because they're getting free money basically from the insurance company at some point in time because they've got all their original investment back. So it just
Wow.
keeps them happier.
Wow. And the security is important to them. And
Oh yeah.
also, as we go to our conclusion, Willie, um, your company, founded by David Lau, one of the points
Mhm.
that David said in one of our prior episodes, he said, by eliminating expensive commissions, we put the savings back into the products. That is a paradigm shift. And what does that mean for your clients?
Oh, the end user is probably the biggest winner at all because you're going to get higher payout rates. That's why right now, the DPL platform, I do a lot of guaranteed income because it just can't be beat anywhere else in the marketplace. But you also have the opportunity for more growth. I know we talked about MIGAs in the past. We have fixed index annuities also. They have what we call higher cap rates, which means if I buy the same solution on the commission side, the same solution on the non-commission side, the most I can grow in the S&P might be 5 on this side, but it's going to be 8 on the non-commission side. So everything being equal, the end user gets more growth opportunity and bigger returns.
For our listeners, I trust you've enjoyed this interview with Willie Jones, who spent several years in insurance and banking. And then he departed the banking industry because he wanted to help
Mhm.
consumers and business achieve their financial goals. So he left banking industry to join DPL Financial Partners,
Yes.
where he directs his passion to help firms grow and prosper while also giving their clients more and better options for financial planning. This has been absolutely great, Willie. And by the way, if someone wants more information or wants to reach out to you, give us the
Mhm.
DPL website and also your email address.
Oh, sure. Feel free to visit at www.dplfp.com. You can see my great picture right there. I'm on the help button for a lot of things. And my email address is simple. I'm a Southern boy. It's just wjones@dplfp.com.
Well, you keep it simple, Willie, and I trust our listeners
Sure.
also will appreciate that in terms of investing because it can be frightening, it can be
Yes.
overwhelming. But you got the good news is you got folks like Willie Jones available to help you. Willie, I trust you have a great day, and thank you for your time.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Dale.
Bye for now.
I just finished reading an interesting article, which you're going to find quite applicable to as we close season 3, episode 9. It was written by Stephanie Fontanez in an online website called Mental Floss. And you're going to see why this is so relevant because the article was talking about stinky humans in the process of evolution. As we move into the dog days of August, I thought this was just spot on for ending this episode. Because you see, cavemen were more concerned about survival and less concerned about body odor. And that makes sense, right? You got to figure out how to get through one more day. And put simply, humans stank. Anthropologists now believe that our funky relatives helped keep us from being, or keep them rather, from being a predator's dinner. Their scent apparently was so rank that the animal about to eat them would actually recoil in horror at the smell and would move on to eat something less repulsive. Now, that's a defense mechanism, right? As the critter's coming up on you, he's he's out of here. But it doesn't matter how he's out of here. At the end of the day, you didn't get eaten, which makes this a perfect defense mechanism. And then let's look at the ancient Egyptians, because while they weren't building pyramids, they too were working hard at masking their own stench. They invented the perfumed bath and would follow it up by applying liberal amounts of perfume to their underarms. Egyptians also tried incense and even porridge as deodorants. Matter of fact, women would place gobs of scented wax on their heads that would slowly melt throughout the day, spreading the pleasing scent as well as masking the, oh, not so
pleasant scent. And actually, that's pretty logical, right? You take this gob of scented wax, you plop it on your head, and it melts throughout the day. Very messy, but also effective in terms of subduing those funky scents that are emanating from their bodies. And then moving forward to the ancient Romans and Greeks, they too borrowed a page from the Egyptians, constantly bathing and dousing themselves in perfume. Matter of fact, the Greek poet Homer once said the good hosts offered their guests baths and aromatic oils. Matter of fact, the Romans were so fanatical about smelling good that they not only took baths in perfume, they soaked their clothes in it, they doused their horses in it, and even perfumed their household pets. Perfume their household pets. Can you imagine? So the Roman of the day, he's like, where is Fluffy? Fluffy was right here. So, oh, there he is. Come here, Fluffy. And the perfume, and now even Fluffy smells good roaming throughout the house. I got a sick sense of humor, folks, and this is my show, and I hope you're enjoying my sense of humor. Also informative, though, because we're moving forward to the Middle Ages, where things took a turn for even deeper stank again during the Middle Ages, when the church decided that being naked was bad. Yes, being naked was bad, even in the bath. Can't make this up. This is historical facts for the period. So people, so people all but stopped cleaning themselves, right? And then those with money tried to cover the stink by purchasing perfume, a practice that continued well into the 19th century. So I guess those without money in the Middle Ages just remained stank and repugnant all day, all night, all day until 1888. Thank God for 1888, because the first commercial deodorant Mum was developed and patented by a U.S. inventor in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by the name of Edna Murphy. Edna Murphy created Mum as a paste applied to the underarms. It was soon followed by Everdry, the first truly effective antiperspirant. Everdry was an aluminum chloride solution that was dabbed on with a cotton swab to less than desirable results, right? I mean, you can imagine. Let me get the cotton swab. Let me get the Everdry. Let me get it right up here. Yeah, I missed a spot. And you get dab some more, put some more. I mean, that gets crazy, right? It's messy, and it took forever to dry. And also, Everdry had a nasty habit not only of stinging the user, but also eating through the clothes and leaving a nasty red stain, because acid and red dye were the active ingredients, which even stained and ruined bridal dresses of the period. But hey, at least you weren't sweating, right? Yeah, your armpits were burning. You had a hole coming into the acid, eating a hole into the armpit of your garment. You got this red stain. But hey, at least I'm dry, right? And I'm not emitting any odors. And I'm not sweating. That's the important part. And so finally, we get to the mid 1950s, inspired by the ballpoint pen. The first Ban roll on was released. The first roll on, called Ban, was released. And 10 years later, the first aerosol, Right Guard, launched a multi-billion-dollar industry, bringing us, thankfully, to today and the close of this episode 9 of season 3 of Aging with Grace 55 plus. Many thanks to our guests, Willie Jones and also Kim Baker, for stopping by. And I trust you enjoyed listening to our guests as much as I did interviewing both of them. This series is sponsored by AARP Kentucky and DPL Financial Partners. DPL Financial is committed to strengthening financial plans with powerful products, delivering value for advisors and clients alike. For more information, please visit their website, dplfp.com. Listen to past episodes of this series, of my series, on my website, awg55.com, or wherever you may listen to podcasts. And now, as always, the last thought of the day from James Clear. But before I get to James Clear, I want you to remember this: aging is not a time of diminishment, but it's a time of applications of lessons taught by some of our best teachers, including experience. And now back to Mr. Clear, author of the book Atomic Habits. Clear writes, good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. So until next time, this has been your host, Dale Josie of Aging with Grace 55 Plus. And before you leave, please click the like button, as I hope you'll certainly join me for our next episode in a few short time from now. Bye. Please visit my website, awg55.com, to listen to past episodes of Aging with Grace 55 Plus, including purchasing a deck of 35 oversized playing cards for deeper, more meaningful conversations with the seniors in your life or community.